let's talk about branding. So branding is a very interesting animal because there's so many people who are selling branding services that really shouldn't be. And there are others who are, everyone's got their own idea what branding is and how it works. So as a person who's created two $350+ million brands, I've got some degree of experience in this and understanding, but at the same time, I still don't have a precise definition. I can't tell you exactly in one sentence what branding is. I can certainly tell you what it's not. So let me tell you what it's not. Then I'm going to tell you in like 10 sentences what it is. And then we're going to work on how you go about creating your own branding. Okay? So it's not your logo. It's not your color scheme. It's not your website. Now, when you talk to people who are branding experts, they tend to talk about those things as if somehow they rule the world. Those are all part of it. But I got to tell you, your logo and your color scheme and your website are not your brand. They contribute to your brand. Now let me tell you what I believe your brand is. Your brand is who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And most important, what makes you different than the other guys. Why they should buy from you instead of someone else. This piece right here is the essence of branding. Once you've established this, then the logo and the color scheme and your website design all make sense. Until you get that, you've not yet branded. In other words, what it comes down to is it's your core story about who you are, what you do, for whom, and why they should buy from you. That's your core story. That's the essence of your brand. Basically, what it comes down to is how do you want to be perceived in the marketplace versus your competitors and as a supplier, potential supplier they should consider. So let's talk for a minute about how you go about creating it. And I caution you here to be very careful with branding packages and branding agencies, especially anyone that's talking about doing it for you. Because here's the problem. Let's go back to those cards I just held up. It's who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and most importantly, what makes you different. That's not something that somebody else can tell you this is what you should do, because they don't know who you are. They don't necessarily know everyone in the marketplace. They don't know what makes you different. And so for them, I really have a real concern that so many of the branding agencies out there, you sign a contract, you send them a whole bunch of money, and they talk to you a couple of times and give you back this book that's beautiful. And it's got a picture of your logo, and it's got your tagline, and it's got your color schemes with little colored chips, and it's got pictures that are stock photography that show the essence of your brand. And the essence of your brand is not a bunch of stock photography. It's who you are and what makes you different. Why they should buy from you. Not a picture of a woman clad all in white skipping through a field of daisies. That's not branding. That's the branding company selling you on paying them the large fee that they charged you. The feeling of your brand is not your brand. It's part of how you're perceived. It's part of your brand, but the essence of your brand is what makes you different, why they should buy from you. You can't put that in a picture of a woman skipping through a field of daisies wearing all white. Now, I have some very good friends, several who are probably watching this video, who are seething inside right now, because what they do is what I just described to you. And I'm not saying anything. I love you friends who are in the branding business. Many of you do beautiful work. I'm doing this because there are many people who are watching this who are looking to, who have heard over and over again, you got a brand. Okay, well, how do I do that? Well, I don't know. You got to hire a branding agency, and a branding agency gives you this book with women skipping through a field and colors and a logo and a tagline. And it's like, for some reason, that industry has gone, in my personal opinion, has gone awry. And they're focusing on the stuff that's not all that important and telling everyone they've got to have it because it is important. And somehow we bought into that. So basically, the concept of someone else figuring out who you are, they may be able to help you get there, but you should never buy a service where they're going to tell you who you are. You need to lead that process. Now, you may rely upon them to eventually turn that process into something that makes you look amazing in the marketplace. But you need to lead the process of who you are and what makes you different and why they should buy from you. Because no one else can do that for you. They may be able to pull it out of you, but they can't just go away and come back with a beautiful book and say, here you go. So they can help, but you need to lead this process. Otherwise, you're going to be $10,000 to $20,000 poorer and have a really nice book and maybe even a really cool website look with lorem ipsum languages and pictures of women skipping through fields of daisies. But what do you do with that? Start with why they should buy from you. That's the most important element in your branding. You can live, very frankly, without everything else. If you've got that story and have some kind of platform that you can tell that story from, that people actually pay attention to and listen to. I've literally seen companies bringing in a one-person company bringing in $500,000 to $1 million a year that has no color scheme, has no logo, has no pretty website. They just have a story that people are attracted to. Why they should buy from you and what makes you different. So what you're after is a story that is compelling. Now, be very careful. I didn't say an interesting story. I said a compelling story. What's the difference? An interesting story may involve you hiking Mount Everest and having a out-of-world experience on the top of Mount Everest when you suddenly realize that you needed to change the world. That may be a very interesting story, but it may not be compelling. Compelling means someone who hears it says, I want to work with this company, this person, this whatever. That's compelling, is that when they get done hearing your story, they want to work with you. No matter how interesting or uninteresting the story of how you came to that realization actually is. So my question for you is, what's your compelling message? Why should they buy from you? What makes you different? Think about that. Because that right there is the essence of elevator speeches, webinars, sales letters, multi-part launch efforts. It all comes down to why they should buy from you. If you can clearly communicate that in a compelling way, you've done your job with branding. So, what's your compelling message? Put it in the chat. I'd love to see it. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.